know what's better than contracts? Mutual interest. It's good for me if I do my part. It's good for him if he does his part. Look at how a road works. You're driving down the road. There's a car here. There's a car here. Why do they not crash into each other? Well, it's good for him if they don't crash, and it's good for him if they don't crash. Nobody wants to crash, so we all avoid it. Isn't that better than having a contract saying we won't crash? What the fuck does a contract mean? And then he does crash into me. Well, I have the contract, but the crash has already happened and everything's a fucking mess. Mutual interest. Find a way to do business with people where there's mutual interest. My suppliers, I don't need a contract from my supplier because they want me to buy things from them. For what contract? For what? I see so many people who get involved in business start talking about contracts because they like to sound smart. Very much like we were talking about earlier on about people who like to spend money at the beginning and get their logo and spend money and get a big back end and all this bullshit. They like to sound intelligent. That's not business. This is business. Money in. The rest ain't business. Contracts aren't business. Contracts are just some fucking bullshit you might have to deal with when you get bigger. But in general, don't be thinking if I can get him to sign a contract, then I've got it. You haven't got anything. You've got a piece of paper. And if you try and enforce that contract, it's going to bankrupt you. So don't be relying on contracts anyway. I see a lot of people doing that, and I don't know why. A piece of paper doesn't mean shit unless you enforce it. And enforcement is very, very slow and very, very expensive. So forget about contracts. Find a way, if you're going to have to work with another company or another person, for there to be mutual interest. Mutual self-interest keeps the traffic of the world flowing. Keeps the business world flowing too. That whole suing each other bullshit, that's some mess you don't want to get mixed up in. That ain't going to get you rich. Hustlers are looking to get money. You're looking to do this. Suing people is a big fucking outlay for a long, long time. It's bullshit. So fuck contracts. Make sure your partners need you. And make sure you need your partners. This is a very, very important one. So I used to know a guy. Hopefully he doesn't buy this course. I knew a guy. I don't know the exact business he had. It was something to do with self-employed employees. To avoid them having to pay tax or something, they'd use his company, and he helped them all under one umbrella company pay less tax, something like this. I don't understand. It was in England. But there was him and two other partners. There's three of them in total. And one day he went into work, and his two partners had fucked him over and screwed him out of his own company because they had the majority share. It's 33% each, 66%, they fucked him off and got rid of him. Why'd they get rid of him? Because they didn't need him anymore. Didn't need him anymore. You need to make sure your partners always need you, and you need to make sure you always need your partners. Not want, need. If you look at your partners and realize they don't need you or you don't need them, then you should do it on your own. Stop being a pussy, stop being a coward. Because you can be the absolute managing director, and you can find your number one employee from your old company or someone you really trust and make them your number two in command. Now you effectively have a partner. This is another thing you don't understand. People want partners because they like the idea of having someone to vibe off of or work with, or someone who they can check their thinking with. That's fine. If you have a partner and you both need each other and it's 50-50, good. I'm not saying don't have partners. I have partners in some of my companies. However, you can still have all the benefits of a partner with a number two in command who's loyal to you. Now you still have the benefits of a partner, but you control everything. So make sure you need your partners and they need you. There's lots of ways you can do that. Mutual self-interest. You can do things, they can do things. You need to work together to get the job done. Otherwise, feel free to just hire someone and make sure they're your second in command and just make them feel important and use them to bounce your thinking and be the only person who's in control. Don't get fucked at your company. Not that it's likely to happen, but still. Even if you're making loads of money, you have a partner you don't need, now you've half the amount of money you're making. Why? Next point. Business. Number 30. Every purchase is an impulse purchase. So, if someone does eventually buy from you, even if they've been thinking about it for a long time, The moment they finally decide to pull the trigger and buy is an impulse purchase. That's why I say hard close. That's why people do false scarcity, all these things to try and get them to impulse buy. You can go and do a lot of research on impulse purchases, how they work, why people make them, etc. Everybody, after they purchase, the time between the money leaving the bank and them receiving the product, even if it's a few milliseconds, is going to have that little bit of, it's a lot of money I just spent. Every single purchase is an impulse purchase. Remember that. Keep it in mind. I've had a lot of people say to me, oh, you're selling impulse purchases. I don't. Mine's a considered purchase. No, it's an impulse purchase. A house is an impulse purchase. A supercar is an impulse purchase. At the point of buying, it's an impulse purchase. No matter how long they consider it for, when they finally click send, it's an impulse purchase. So all the tactics and tricks I'm teaching you to get people to impulsively buy, work on every single kind of sale, because every single kind of sale is an impulse purchase. Don't get stuck up in some bullshit thinking, oh, mine's not an impulse, like you're better than everyone else. Oh, mine's not an impulse purchase, mine's considered. Shut up. All impulse purchasing, all of it. Everybody impulse purchases. And that's why you have to look, if you're gonna look at any kind of sales tips and tricks, look at impulse purchasing, how it works, why people do it, and those are the factors you need to implement, especially when you're trying to close a considered purchase. If you've been talking to them for a long time, you're trying to close them, bang, you're trying to convince them to make an impulse purchase. It's as simple as that. All sales are impulse purchases. And they're not buying on price. Those two go together very, very well. Remember those 2 points. It's important. So how does a real estate agent do that? Like a house is a considered purchase. This is where you're gonna live and it's very, very expensive. Well, they come and they show you around, they make you want it, and then they start telling you other people have won it. Other people are viewing the house, they're gonna put in an offer, trying to force you to make an impulse yes or no. Okay, we'll take it. They understand. Everyone understands. It's always an impulse purchase. You have to put something there to make people buy. Make them do it or they're simply not going to do it. Do not give people open-ended time frames. If I say you can have this pen today for X amount, or you can come back to me anytime and get the pen. No rush. Why would I buy now? I'll live without the pen for a while until I really need the pen. And I'm not going to need the pen unless you convince me of the needs. So I'm never going to buy the pen. Everything's an impulse purchase. You have to convince them on needs, and you have to hard close them. This is something, just understand the nature of how people sell and how people buy, because this is the same with absolutely everything, no matter what it is. Next, promise your clients a future. This is important. A lot of people I see do not sell a future with their clients, and I don't understand why. You should sell a future with your clients. You should say, look, we're going to work together for a very long time. In the future, X, Y, Z is going to happen. In the future, I'll be able to provide you with X, Y, Z. When you talk about the future, you presume the present. So this is a trick I even do with chicks. Let's use dating as an example. If you're watching this and you don't have my PhD course, get it, because it's good. Very good. But I do this in the PhD course. So if you preempt the future, if you talking about the future, then you've already assumed the present. So if you're talking to somebody or you want to do some business with somebody and you got a business or whatever, and you want to sell them something, you talk about how it's going to affect things in the future. So let's take an example. Let's look at your ebook. I don't know, I'm just thinking something off the top of my head. Your $17 ebook on how to pick up girls. Girls, I'm gonna draw a girl. There you go. She's hair. Beautiful smile. So how do you preempt the future to make sure that they buy? So let's say you're talking to someone, they're not sure if they're going to buy or not. Well, then you talk about the future. You say, well, in the future, maybe we can go day gaming together. This is all pickup artist bullshit, but whatever. In the future, we can go day gaming together. Or in the future, if you're texting a girl and you're not sure exactly what to say, let me know. Or in the future, if you see a girl doing some of the things I point out in my ebook, send me examples because I can use them on my website. I really appreciate that. Talk about the future like he's already bought and digested the product. And that makes them far more likely to buy and digest your product. So I do the same thing when I date girls. Oh, well, when we're married, how do I know how do I know you're not gonna cheat? Okay, I've just met her. What do you mean married? Ha ha ha. If you're talking about when we're married, that's presuming I'm gonna fuck you sooner or later, because we're gonna fuck before we get married. Presume the future. Presuming the future makes the present, you're setting you're setting what the present's gonna be. You're saying this is what's gonna happen now, so I know what's gonna happen in the future. You can do exactly the same thing with business. So when I was selling TV advertising and I was talking to clients, and I'm trying to close a small 19 grand deal, I'd be talking about 2 years when we're doing the 500 grand deals. So when I'm trying to close this, I'm talking about this. I'll be like, oh, well, in the future, well, in a few years, when we're launching the big campaigns, we can do the sponsorships. We can sponsor the before and after the programs. And when you're spending that kind of money, we'll also be able to have meetings directly with the channel, blah, 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 blah. And they're sitting there going, yeah, okay, yeah, sponsorships, yeah. Talking about all this imaginary shit to try and close this. Sell the future at all times. If you presume the future, it makes them more likely to buy now. And that's something that people don't do. Even for bullshit $17 ebooks, for television advertising, for websites, doesn't matter what it is. If I was trying to sell a new website for N2, I'd be talking about how 2 years later down the line, we can integrate a new back end with our website. Who knows? Who gives a shit? Talk about some fancy shit that's going to happen in the future. If you do that, you're more likely to sell now. That's super important. Don't talk about now. Back to the ebook. If you buy my ebook, you'll see what girls are texting you and you'll see why they mean it or why they're saying it. If you buy my ebook, you'll see why girls are saying what they say in text messages, as opposed to after you've seen my ebook and you see what these girls are saying, it's gonna be exactly like I told you. And when they do it, screenshot it, send it to me, because you're gonna see. The future, okay, after I have the ebook, then I'm gonna know, he said I'm gonna understand why they're doing it and I'm gonna send it to him. You've already told him he has the ebook. Presume the future at all times. Very important.